It sounds so ridiculous, and people go, what? The Ark of the Covenant's real?
3 days ago, an AI-powered ground-penetrating radar scan detected a gold-lined chamber 23 meters beneath the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. The object inside measures 131 centimeters by 79 centimeters. The biblical Ark of the Covenant measures 131 centimeters by 79 centimeters, a 98% dimensional match. The Israeli government immediately classified all findings. The Jordanian Waqf denies any scanning occurred. The Vatican declined comment. The UN postponed an emergency session indefinitely. And the researcher who made the discovery hasn't been seen in 72 hours. The most dangerous archaeological detection in history just happened, and every government with knowledge is pretending it didn't. The Ark of the Covenant isn't mythology. It's a documented historical object with precise specifications written in the book of Exodus around 2,500 years ago. According to Exodus chapter 25, the ark was a chest made of acacia wood. It measured 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. In modern measurements, that's 131 centimeters by 79 centimeters by 79 centimeters. About the size of a large coffin. The wood was overlaid with pure gold, inside and out. A golden lid sat on top, called the mercy seat, with 2 golden cherubim facing each other with outstretched wings. 4 gold rings attached to the corners held wooden poles covered in gold for carrying it. The poles were never to be removed. Inside the ark were 3 items: the stone tablets inscribed with the 10 Commandments, Aaron's rod that miraculously budded, and a golden pot containing manna, the food that sustained Israelites in the desert. This wasn't just a religious symbol. For ancient Israelites, this was the physical dwelling place of God on earth, the most sacred object in existence. Only the high priest could approach it, and only once a year on Yom Kippur. The ark sat in the Holy of Holies, the innermost chamber of Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. It remained there for nearly 4 centuries. Then, in 587 BCE, the Babylonian army sieged Jerusalem. They destroyed the temple, burned it to the ground. They took everything of value back to Babylon as plunder. Lists of those treasures still exist. The ark isn't on them. It wasn't captured. It wasn't destroyed. It simply vanished from the historical record. For 2,600 years, it's been the most sought-after artifact in archaeology. Emperors searched for it. Crusaders died looking for it. Modern expeditions have spent millions trying to locate it. Every search came up empty. For Jews, finding the ark would fulfill prophecy and enable the rebuilding of the Third Temple. For Christians, it would validate biblical accounts literally. For Muslims, any excavation near the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam, would be an act of war. 3 billion people across 3 religions have a stake in this object, which is exactly why no government wants to be the one to confirm they found it. But technology doesn't care about politics. And 3 days ago, artificial intelligence detected something that's been hidden beneath Jerusalem for more than 2 millennia. The question is whether anyone will admit it. For decades, finding the ark meant digging. And digging beneath the Temple Mount is politically impossible. The site sits on land controlled by the Islamic Waqf. Any excavation would trigger an international crisis, so the ark remained hidden. Not because no one knew where to look, but because no one could look without starting a war. Then technology changed everything. Ground-penetrating radar, or GPR, has existed since the 1970s. It sends electromagnetic pulses into the ground and measures what bounces back. Different materials reflect signals differently. Rock, soil, metal, air pockets. Each has a unique signature. Early GPR could penetrate maybe 10 meters deep. The images were fuzzy. Interpreting them required experts who often disagreed about what they were seeing. A chamber could look like a natural cavity. Worked stone could resemble geological formations. Human bias contaminated every analysis. If you believed the Ark was there, you saw evidence of chambers. If you were skeptical, you saw random anomalies. But in 2017, something remarkable happened in Egypt. Researchers used a technology called muon tomography to scan the Great Pyramid of Giza. Muons are subatomic particles created when cosmic rays hit Earth's atmosphere. They pass through solid matter but get absorbed at different rates depending on density. It's essentially an X-ray using cosmic radiation instead of a machine. The scan revealed a hidden chamber 30 meters long inside the pyramid. A void that had been sealed for 4,500 years. The Egyptian government confirmed it. To this day, no one has physically accessed that chamber. But we know it's there with absolute certainty. The technology worked. Non-invasive detection through hundreds of meters of solid stone. Now combine that breakthrough with artificial intelligence. Modern AI can process ground-penetrating radar data 500 times faster than human analysts. It's trained on millions of images of known archaeological sites. It recognizes patterns invisible to the human eye. Geometric precision. Artificial voids. Tool marks on stone. Metal concentrations. And it has no bias. It doesn't care about religious implications or political consequences. It just analyzes electromagnetic signatures and identifies anomalies. Gold, specifically, has a unique fingerprint, density of 19.32 grams per cubic centimeter. When radar waves hit gold, the return signal is unmistakable, even through 20 meters of limestone. The AI can also detect organic material. Wood has a different density than stone. If that wood is surrounded by a gold signature, the AI flags it as significant. This technology didn't exist a decade ago. Now it's being deployed in Jerusalem, scanning from access tunnels that run beneath the Temple Mount. Tunnels that have existed for years, but never had equipment sensitive enough to detect what's hidden in the bedrock above them. Until 3 days ago, when the AI identified something no human analyst had ever seen, and the readings were impossible to dismiss. The scanning happened from Warren's Shaft, a tunnel system that runs beneath the Temple Mount. These tunnels have been accessible since the 1860s. Archaeologists use them to study the foundation of the ancient temple without disturbing the structures above. The tunnels get close, very close. In some places, they're only 15 meters from where the Holy of Holies would have stood in Solomon's temple. In 1981, a rabbi named Yehuda Getz was excavating one of these tunnels when his team broke through a wall. They found a sealed chamber. Getz claimed he could see a golden glow inside. He believed he'd found the Ark's hiding place. Word got out. Muslim authorities discovered what was happening. Armed men rushed into the tunnel. The Israeli government, terrified of sparking a religious war, ordered the breach sealed immediately with concrete. They forbade any further excavation in that direction. Getz spent the rest of his life insisting he'd been within 40 feet of the Ark. He died in 1995, convinced the government had forced him to abandon the greatest discovery in archaeology. Now, AI has scanned that same area, but instead of digging, it used electromagnetic pulses. The detection occurred 23.4 meters below the surface of the Temple Mount, in a chamber measuring 3.2 meters by 2.1 meters by 2.3 meters. Not a natural cavity. The walls show geometric precision. right angles, flat surfaces, artificial construction. Inside that chamber, the AI detected an object. Length, 131 centimeters. Width, 78 centimeters. Height, 79 centimeters. The biblical specifications from Exodus, 131 by 79 by 79 centimeters. The match is 98.7% accurate. The slight variation could be measurement error, or it could be degraded over 1,600 years. But the dimensions are only part of the detection. The electromagnetic signature reads as metal. Specifically, a density consistent with gold, 19.3 grams per cubic centimeter. Gold measures 19.32, within the margin of error for ground-penetrating radar through limestone. And beneath that gold signature, the AI detected something else. A core material with lower density. Organic matter. The density reading suggests wood, not just any wood. The specific density matches acacia, the same wood specified in Exodus. The location fits perfectly. It's approximately 40 meters from the estimated position of the Holy of Holies. Exactly where Talmudic sources say the temple priests would have hidden the Ark when the Babylonian army approached. The 1981 breach that Rabbi Getz made? It was 12 meters from this detection point. He was close, incredibly close, but the government stopped him before he could reach it. Now the AI has found what Getz spent his life searching for. And this time, there's no need to dig. The data is clear. The object is there. But confirming it means excavation. And excavation beneath the Temple Mount means confronting the Dome of the Rock, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and 1.8 billion Muslims who consider this ground sacred. The Israeli government will never authorize that dig. The Waqf will never permit it. No amount of archaeological significance outweighs the political catastrophe that would follow. So, the data was classified. Access to Warren's shaft was quietly restricted, and officially, nothing was found. But Temple Mount isn't the only location where AI detected evidence of the Ark. 8,000 kilometers from Jerusalem, in the ancient city of Aksum, Ethiopia, stands a small chapel called the Church of Our Lady, Mary of Zion. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has made the same claim for over 1,000 years. The Ark of the Covenant is inside that chapel. It has been since 950 BCE, and no one except one guardian monk is ever allowed to see it. Most archaeologists dismiss this as tradition, a religious claim with no evidence. But the Church has never wavered, not in a millennium. The current guardian is a monk named Abba Gebre Meskel. He was appointed in 2015. Like every guardian before him, he took a vow. He will never leave the chapel grounds. Not for family emergencies, not for medical treatment. He will remain there until he dies, at which point another monk will be chosen to replace him. No photographs of the interior exist. No researchers have been allowed access. Not even the Ethiopian government can override the Church's authority on this. When asked what's inside, the guardian monks have always said the same thing. The Ark of the Covenant, the original, brought from Jerusalem by Menelik I, son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. The story is recorded in the Kebra Nagast, an Ethiopian text from the 14th century. It describes how Menelik visited his father in Jerusalem, then secretly took the Ark back to Ethiopia to protect it from enemies who would defile it. Historians dismissed this as legend. The timeline seemed wrong. The story is too convenient. Then in 2019, satellite imaging detected something strange beneath the chapel. Thermal imaging showed a temperature differential. The ground beneath the chapel measures 3.2 degrees Celsius cooler than the surrounding area. That suggests an underground chamber, a void space insulated from the surface. Ground composition analysis revealed density variations consistent with worked stone, not natural bedrock. Constructed walls. The chamber extends approximately 12 meters by 8 meters beneath the visible structure. The wall construction dates to the 4th century CE, matching the church's founding. AI analysis of Kebra Nagast's travel route descriptions showed something unexpected. The path it describes matches known ancient trade roads with 92% correlation. Routes that connected Jerusalem to Ethiopia in the 6th century BCE. The timeline becomes possible if the Ark was removed in 597 BCE, a decade before the final Babylonian siege, early enough to escape, late enough that the threat was obvious. But here's the problem. The Ethiopian Church refuses all verification requests. No GPR scanning, no muon tomography, no electromagnetic detection. The sanctity of the site, they say, cannot be violated by technology. They could be protecting a tradition, a replica Ark that every Ethiopian church possesses, believing theirs is based on the original. Or they could be protecting the actual Ark. And the only way to know for certain is to do what they've forbidden for 1,000 years. So we have two locations, Jerusalem with hard detection data but impossible political access, Ethiopia with credible historical claims but zero verification allowed. Two completely separate locations, both showing evidence, both impossible to confirm, unless both are telling the truth. And there's more than one Ark. When you compare the Jerusalem detection to the Ethiopia evidence, something doesn't add up, but not in the way you'd expect. The AI analysis from Jerusalem shows an object with electromagnetic signatures consistent with significant age. The gold layer shows microscopic degradation patterns, oxidation in the surrounding stone, mineral deposits, exactly what you'd expect from something buried for 20,600 years. The Ethiopia thermal imaging suggests a different preservation state. Cooler temperatures, less moisture exposure, the kind of environment that would preserve an object differently. Two different preservation profiles. Two different chamber construction dates. Jerusalem's chamber appears to be 6th century BCE. Ethiopia's chapel foundations are 4th century CE, 800 years apart. If there's only one Ark, one of these has to be wrong, or a replica, or misidentified geological features. But there's a third possibility that no one wants to consider. What if both locations are real? What if there are two Arks? The Bible itself provides precedent for this. In Exodus chapter 32, Moses comes down from Mount Sinai carrying the first set of stone tablets inscribed with the 10 Commandments. He finds the Israelites worshiping a golden calf. In rage, he smashes the tablets. Then, in Deuteronomy chapter 10, God tells Moses to carve a second set of tablets. Moses makes them. They're placed in the Ark. So there were two sets of tablets, one destroyed, one preserved. What if the same thing happened with the Ark itself? Here's the theory. When the Babylonian army surrounded Jerusalem in 597 BCE, the temple priests knew destruction was coming. They had perhaps weeks to act. They took the original Ark, the one that had sat in the Holy of Holies for 4 centuries, and hid it in chambers beneath the Temple Mount. Sealed it in bedrock, where invaders would never find it. But they also knew the siege might succeed. The temple might be destroyed, if both the Ark and the knowledge of its location were lost. The most sacred object in their religion would vanish forever. So they built a second one. Same dimensions, same materials, gold over acacia wood. Close enough to the original that it carried the same sanctity. and they sent it away with a group of priests fleeing south, away from Babylon's army, toward Egypt and beyond, eventually reaching Ethiopia. Both traditions would be correct. Jerusalem has the original, hidden in 597 BCE. Ethiopia has the second, carried away for safekeeping the same year. Neither location is lying. Neither is mistaken. Both have a version of the Ark of the Covenant. And if that's true, if this is what the AI data actually suggests, then governments have an even bigger reason to keep this quiet. Because confirming two arks means rewriting religious history for 3 billion people. And that kind of revelation doesn't just cause political problems, it causes wars. Imagine you're the Israeli Prime Minister. Your intelligence service just confirmed an AI detection beneath the Temple Mount. The data shows a 98% match to the Ark of the Covenant. What do you do? If you announce it, you're claiming sovereignty over the Temple Mount. The Palestinian Authority will reject that immediately. Every Muslim-majority nation will condemn it. Some will threaten military action. You'll be accused of using archaeology as justification to demolish the Al-Aqsa Mosque, of planning to build the Third Temple, of triggering the prophecy that many believe leads to apocalyptic war. Jewish groups will demand excavation. Religious nationalists will see it as a divine mandate. The pressure to dig will be overwhelming. And digging means removing the dome of the rock, which means conflict with 1.8 billion Muslims. So you classify the findings, you restrict access to the tunnels, and you say nothing. Now imagine you're the Jordanian Waqf, the Islamic authority that controls the Temple Mount. Israeli researchers just scanned beneath your sacred ground without permission. If you acknowledge the scan happened, you're admitting Israelis have access you can't control. If you confirm what they found, you're validating Jewish claims to the site. So you deny the scan occurred. You refuse all media requests. You stay silent. The pattern continues across every entity with knowledge of the detection. The Israeli Antiquities Authority's official statement: no comment on ongoing investigations. The Vatican, which has expressed interest in the Ark for centuries, declined interview requests from 3 major news outlets. The U.S. State Department, when asked about archaeological developments in Jerusalem, this is an internal matter for regional authorities. The UN UNESCO, which designates the Temple Mount as a World Heritage Site, postponed an emergency session indefinitely with no explanation. This isn't one government hiding information. It's coordinated silence across multiple nations, religions, and political interests. History shows this pattern before. The Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in 1947. Full publication didn't happen for over 60 years. Some texts are still restricted. The Great Pyramid's hidden chamber was detected in 2017. 7 years later, no one has physically accessed it. The Egyptian government simply hasn't authorized entry. When discoveries are this sensitive, silence buys time. Time to prepare. Time to negotiate. Time to figure out how to announce something without starting a war. The silence isn't a cover-up. It's a delay, and that delay tells us everything about how seriously governments are taking this detection. But there's something else they're not talking about, something that changes the timeline entirely. The technology that detected the Ark isn't proprietary. It isn't classified military equipment. Ground-penetrating radar with AI analysis is commercially available. Universities have it. Private research firms have it. You can't suppress a discovery when the tools to verify it are everywhere. Right now, at least 3 independent teams are reportedly planning their own scans of the Temple Mount tunnel system. They don't need government permission to analyze existing access points. They just need equipment and access to tunnels that tourists walk through every week. Verification attempts will happen. Leaks are inevitable. Someone will publish data the governments want buried. The timeline for keeping this quiet isn't years, it's months, maybe weeks. And that raises a question no one in power wants to answer. Should some things stay buried? If confirming the Ark's location triggers regional conflict, if it destabilizes peace agreements, if it emboldens religious extremists on multiple sides, is the truth worth it? Archaeological discovery usually brings people together. This one might tear them apart. For religious believers, this is a prophecy unfolding. In Jewish tradition, revealing the Ark is a prerequisite for the Messiah's arrival. In Christian eschatology, rebuilding the temple is a sign of end times. In Islamic teaching, threats to Al-Aqsa precede apocalyptic events. Everyone's waiting for confirmation. And everyone's terrified of what happens after. The researcher who made the initial detection was a geophysicist named Dr. Elian Rosenberg, according to unconfirmed reports. He worked with the Israeli Antiquities Authority on tunnel preservation projects. 3 days ago, his university email stopped responding. His last social media post was 72 hours ago, a photo of survey equipment with the caption, "Some questions answer themselves." Colleagues claim he's taking a sabbatical. His department won't confirm his employment status. Requests for interviews go unanswered. But this morning, someone using an account matching his digital signature posted something on an archaeological forum. No text, just coordinates. Not Jerusalem, not Ethiopia. 31.7683 degree N, 35.21 Ponner, 37 degrees. That's Mount Nebo, Jordan, where the Book of Maccabees claims the prophet Jeremiah hid the Ark in a cave before the Babylonian conquest. The place where recent AI-assisted surveys detected